There's a lot of debate over what games are considered the mainline Mario games, the games that are part of the official Super Mario timeline. And if that's not the biggest oxymoron you could possibly think of, then I don't know what is. Mario is easily the most popular video game series ever, and yet there isn't a single agreed upon consensus for the timeline. What would it even look like? Where would it start and where would it end? Would Yoshi's Island be the first game, maybe Donkey Kong? Would it include every game? What about the remakes, the spin-offs? You'd have a hard time making sense of it all. Nintendo has a timeline on their website, but it's just the games they list as Super Mario games. They list New Super Mario Bros. U and UDX as separate entries in the timeline, and they also include Mario 3D All-Stars. This list is pretty terrible, and if Nintendo gives up on making a timeline, how are we supposed to make it? The Mario games don't have a connected story, each new game makes it more convoluted, and Nintendo doesn't care. But today, I'm putting it all to rest. Since Donkey Kong Bonanza recently made changes which had huge implications on the timeline, I had enough. I sat down, researched, and figured out the entire timeline, how every game connects. And trust me, I figured it out. Every single game is accounted for. So without wasting any time, let's get right into it. As we all know, Mario's story doesn't actually start with Super Mario Bros., but it also doesn't start with Yoshi's Island. It starts in the 1930s with the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Although the show alludes to it taking place in present day, which would be 1989, it doesn't because of the next entry in the timeline. Mario and Luigi are the sole owners of Mario Brothers Plumbing. And as two of the best plumbers in Brooklyn, the Super Mario Bros. Managed to live great lives, and Mario even has some children. Of course, as a family-owned business, it's only natural that their kids or grandkids would take up the mantle. 60 years later, Mario Brothers Plumbing is still thriving. Now, Mario over here is the grandson of Lou Albano's Mario, with Luigi being their great uncle, and we know this from one of the opening scenes in the movie, where we see Mario's grandfather. See the resemblance? That's him. The Mario Brothers successfully saved New York from a future where humans are replaced with dinosaurs, and their names are known far and wide. I'm sure you're wondering, Getty, why the fuck did you start with the live-action universe? But trust me, there's a reason. In the post-credits scene of the movie, a group of Japanese men approach who they think are the Mario Brothers with the proposition of a video game based on their adventure. That's right, they've always been connected. It's just that the game universe takes place inside the live-action universe. On top of that, there are a few animated shows which also release in this universe. So there are two universes inside a universe, and all three are viewed from our universe. That's Marioception. At this time, that's all for the live-action universe, which means we can jump into the animated universe only features a few projects, but they release concurrently with certain games in the video game universe. Since I'm breaking this up by each separate universe, I'm just going to talk about all of these now. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show chronicles some of the adventures of Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, and Bowser. There are 52 episodes, with the majority of them having slight nods to movies of the time or pop culture. There's 20,000 Koopas Under the Sea, Count Koopula, On Her Majesty's Sewer Service, and the list goes on. They released a new episode every weekday for nearly 2 months alongside the Zelda cartoon. If I was a kid in the 1980s, I think I would have lost my mind if I heard that. Technically, the show was cancelled, but a year later it would be rebranded as The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 follows more or less the same structure as the Super Show, but with more of an emphasis on using assets from Super Mario Bros. 3. I had the show on DVD as a kid, and I watched every episode. There are 26 episodes, and just like the Super Show, it was eventually rebranded again as This is more of the same, except now Yoshi joins the fray. There are also more assets from Super Mario World, but this one only has 13 episodes. Then, a few years later, the Donkey Kong Country show is horribly cursed. It released in 1996 in France, but didn't officially release in the US until 1999, and I hate everything about this show. There is not one redeeming quality. It is cursed on every level. The animation, the voice acting, the plot, this. I hate it. I guess I like the 3D environments, I don't know. There were 40 episodes showing the escapades of the DK family and the Kremlins. And what a way to kill off the shows in the Mario universe. While this is the last TV show, many years later, 2 movies will continue the story. The Super Mario Bros. Movie would release to critical acclaim. It retold the story of the Super Mario Brothers based on their adventures in the Super Mario games. Like I said, the animated universe and video game universe take place concurrently, so this was released towards the latter half of the video game universe. I'm not going to go over the exact plot, but this comes next in the timeline. Now, I understand this movie isn't out yet. It still doesn't release for a few months, but it does come after the first movie, so I'm putting it here anyways. To date, this is the last entry in the animated universe. So without further ado, let's jump in to the video game universe we all know and love. Now before I start, let me put up a giant warning. The timeline is going to get complex, and a few games are going to have major implications because they introduce time travel. It's difficult to talk about the timeline in order because of that, so I'm going to cover it in a way which makes it easy to understand. So don't get pissed when you don't immediately see Partners in Time or Yoshi's Island DS. I'll get to them eventually. And I'm covering these games in chronological order, not in order of release. The youngest appearance of Mario is in Yoshi's Island, where a stork carrying the Mario Brothers is intercepted by Kamek, causing Mario to be separated from Luigi. A group of Yoshis find Mario and vow to bring him back to his brother. This is also the youngest appearance of Bowser, who's just a baby. However, he was not the one who ordered Kamek to steal Luigi. The manual states that Kamek sensed the 2 newborns would bring disaster to the Koopa family. Baby Bowser only fights Yoshi in that game because he wanted to ride on him instead of Baby Mario. He's just a spoiled brat. He stomps Kamek into the ground for waking him up. Yoshi beats Baby Bowser and the brothers are delivered to the correct house. Our heroes are born. Except they're not even conscious of what happened. But deep within Baby Bowser's mind, a rivalry is born that will come back to deeply spite the brothers. After returning Mario, the Yoshis continue to live on their island until one day, Baby Bowser returns to harm them in Yoshi's story. Let's read from the manual. One day it just happened. The world became locked in a picture book, and the super happy tree was stolen. Okay, no help here. The Yoshis travel through the pages of the book until confronting Baby Bowser. He eventually gives up and gives the super happy tree back to the Yoshis. All is well on Yoshi's Island. But yet again, a deep vendetta swells in Bowser's mind. Let's jump forward about 20 years, where Mario and Luigi are adults. Growing up, Mario went by the name Jumpman for his abnormal vertical jump height, but most people just called him Mario. He works as a carpenter and lives a pretty honest life in Brooklyn. Not much is actually known about Mario's younger years, but there are a few games we have to work with. A younger Mario is seen at one point juggling in Mario the Juggler. Mario is also seen playing pinball in Pinball, which leads him to meet Pauline, who's trapped at the top of a pinball machine. For some fucking reason, Mario catches her, bringing her to safety, and this will be the start of their relationship. One day, Mario's called down for a carpentry job at the local circus. He's tasked with repairing some of the supports in the greenhouse exhibit, which we see is facing some pest issues in Greenhouse. This is not Mario, by the way, this is just some other guy. Once the job is done, he checks out some of the exhibits and stumbles upon one with a giant ape named Donkey Kong. In Donkey Kong Circus, we see Mario humiliating DK for messing up his routine. Of course, DK is helpless as a circus exhibit. His captors treat him terribly. So from the moment he saw Mario laugh at him, a deep hatred would grow inside his mind. From that day on, Mario would return frequently, constantly berating DK, and what's worse is that his son Donkey Kong Jr. has to watch the torment his father faces. So DK Jr. rebels against Mario in Donkey Kong Jr. Junior fights his way up the exhibit and eventually manages to free Donkey Kong, but Mario is sent tumbling down several stories, which nearly kills him. And Mario does not take kindly to this. Upon gaining freedom, Donkey Kong takes it upon himself to teach his son math. He's uneducated, so DK does all he can to teach him in Donkey Kong Jr. math. Once he feels that his son's skills are good enough, he sets out on a path of vengeance. DK kidnaps Mario's girlfriend Pauline and brings her to a dangerous construction site in the original Donkey Kong. But Mario won't go down so easily. He climbs his way up the construction site, each time getting closer and closer to Pauline. And once he gets to the top, he sends DK to the ground, the same way Junior did to him. Pauline and Mario escape to safety, but the circus company and contractors of the construction site are beyond pissed. Upon realizing that Donkey Kong would need heavier supervision, the circus company brings in the guy from Greenhouse to keep DK under control in the events of Donkey Kong 3. Let's see... Stanley the Bugman. Unfortunately though, Mario is left with thousands in debt due to damages to the construction site. He needs to start working again, and fast. Otherwise, the debt collectors will kill him and Luigi. Luckily, Mario's carpentry and blue-collar skills will come in handy. Skills that will go on to define the following years of his life. Mario first takes up construction and demolition in Versus Wrecking Crew. He's tasked with knocking down the construction sites that he and DK partially destroyed. This is continued in Wrecking Crew for the NES. As he continues working, the foreman decides to give him a promotion, and moves him up to a cement mason in Mario's Cement Factory. It's difficult work, but Mario starts racking up a small fortune. He starts to understand the ins and outs of the business, and yet again he moves to a different field. Mario and Luigi both take up jobs at a bottling plant in Mario Bros. For the Game & Watch, where they prepare packages and load them into delivery trucks. This is the first game to feature Luigi, if you can even tell that's him. Weeks into working though, the plant begins to face strange plumbing issues, and eventually, creatures began appearing inside the sewers of Brooklyn. The brothers, eager to take more work, accept a job to fix the issue. At long last, Mario and Luigi take up their first plumbing gig in Mario Bros. More specifically, they're tasked with clearing out the hostile creatures in the pipe systems of Brooklyn. They encounter enemies, the likes of which they've never seen before, and the more they take out, the more hostile they become. This job is continued in Mario Bros. Special, Punchball Mario Bros. And Kai Tekita Mario Bros. Let's see what insight we can get from Punchball Mario Bros.' manual. At some point, humans gained the ability to use tools. At first, they were simple things using the bones of animals and fragments of rocks. Using their wisdom, humans improved their tools and began to build up a sophisticated culture. What the fuck? What is this shit? On the other hand, there are people who will only use stone. Here we introduce two such people. Will they ever learn about sophisticated culture? What the fuck is this? This isn't some 2001 A Space Odyssey shit. It's a game about two fucking plumbers. Who the fuck thought of this? Mario Clash shows the arrival of more enemies in the Brooklyn sewers. They take out as many as they can, until eventually they surrender and retreat. Nobody knows why they came or where they came from, but for now, there's peace in New York. At this time, Mario has enough money to pay off his debts. He's free from the debt collectors. But unfortunately for Mario, the timing couldn't be any worse. Brooklyn of the Mario universe faces its first full-out war in Mario's Bombs Away, fighting against the same enemies that Mario faced in the sewers. An unknown dictator from another land is sending his troops to New York. A draft is held, and Mario has to gear up. His mission is to successfully transport explosives through the forest with the help of his troop. Not everyone's as tenacious as Mario, though. There's a slacker in the troop who smokes his days away. He carelessly tosses his cigars into the conveniently placed oil spill next to Mario. He tries to avoid the flames, but Mario's luck has run out. A bomb ignites in Mario's hands, leaving him in critical condition. Mario is left in a coma after the incident. The doctors say that his brain function is steady, but nowhere near as high as it needs to be. During this time, Mario experiences fascinating hallucinations in the events of Super Mario Bros. 2. He dreams that he, his brother, a magical mushroom creature named Toad, and a mysterious yet charming woman named Princess Toadstool travel across the land of Subcon, defeating enemies not unlike the ones he faced in the sewers and in the war. After fighting his way through, he encounters Wart, a large frog cursing Subcon. With a few well-thrown turnips, he defeats him and lifts the curse Wart was casting. Mario feels an odd attraction to Toadstool, but as the hallucinations begin to fade, he holds on to the memory of her, and wakes up. Miraculously, Mario is healthy once again. Now the war is still ongoing, but Mario is no longer fit to be a soldier on the front lines. He spends the final years of the war as a medic until the unknown dictator ceases fire. The war abruptly comes to an end, closing out another era of Mario's life. Following the war, Mario is not quite sure what to do with his life. His deployment did a major toll on his mind and body, so he's apprehensive of going back to work in the sewers or construction sites. On top of that, Pauline slept with Mario's old boss while he was deployed, so their relationship's gone. But Mario remembers something important that his officer once told him. He remembers a little piece of legislation known as the GI Act. The act guaranteed that any post-war veterans would be entitled to free college tuition. Jumping on the opportunity quickly, Mario moves to academia. Mario's work as a medic during the war inspires him to attend med school. He gets his doctorate in the original Dr. Mario, coming up with groundbreaking cures for several viruses. He then continues his research and medical practice in Versus Dr. Mario 64, Dr. Mario Online RX, Dr. Mario Express, Dr. Mario Miracle Cure, and Dr. Mario World. After spending so much time researching, he feels his knowledge, skills, and wisdom would be best suited to teaching. Mario starts with early childhood learning in the 3 Mario's Early Years games. He teaches letters, numbers, math, and shapes. Let me just say that if I was 7 years old, I'd fucking love these games. Then Mario teaches basic tabletop and card games in Mario's Game Gallery. Fun fact, this is the first game to feature Charles Martinet as Mario. Now comes I Am a Teacher, Super Mario Sweater, and Mario Family, 2 extremely obscure Mario games which teach kids how to sew and the basics of a sewing machine. He then moves to teaching art and music in Super Mario Bros. And Friends, Mario Paint, and the Mario Artist series. He teaches printing in Super Mario Bros. Print World, and finally he finishes his lecture circuit in Mario no Photopia, teaching graphic design and photo editing. All this time teaching has left Mario with a large sum of money, and looking to grow his income even further, he dives into the world of passive income. Mario creates 2 paid online courses that teach typing in Mario Teaches Typing 1 and 2. He also learns about dropshipping during this time. By using outsourced work, he sells appliances and electronics through an online storefront that he created. This brings him a steady source of income, and combined with the money he made from teaching, he has more than enough to start his own business. During this time though, the contacts he gained from Mario Bros. And Mario Clash would occasionally ask him to complete plumbing jobs. It certainly didn't make much money, but Mario still enjoyed the blue-collar work he had done for so long. However, one day, he was called in for a bizarre plumbing job. Mario and Luigi both rushed to the place, where a mushroom creature named Toad popped out of a large sewer pipe. At first, he was in disbelief, but he realized this was the same mushroom creature he dreamt of while in a coma. Toad spoke to Mario, telling him about an evil dictator named Bowser, king of the Koopa tribe. The Mushroom Kingdom lived peacefully until the Koopa tribe took over, turning most of the Toads into bricks, stones, and enemies. The only person with the ability to undo the magic is Princess Toadstool, who's currently being held captive by Bowser. Toad pleads with Mario and Luigi, asking them to save the Mushroom Kingdom. They're reluctant at first. Mario and Luigi have never left New York, not consciously at least. But Mario is drawn by the visions he had in his coma. He's intrigued by the princess, so Mario and Luigi drop headfirst down the pipe, on their way to the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario first travels across the Mushroom Kingdom in the original Super Mario Bros. He encounters the same enemies he's faced many times before, and suddenly, things start to click. The hostile creatures in the sewers, the war on Brooklyn, all of it was orchestrated by Bowser. But Mario has some new tricks up his sleeve. While traveling, he finds a magical plant which grants him fire powers, and his brother Luigi steps in when he needs a break. He battles his way into the castle until finally encountering him, Bowser in the flesh. Mario seems to recognize him, but he can't put his mind on where he first saw him. Without hesitation, Mario uses the fire flower to incinerate Bowser, but he finds that this isn't Bowser at all. The first castle was being guarded by some Goomba impersonating him. And what's worse, a toad tells him the princess is in another castle entirely. This enrages Mario, but he presses on, determined to save the princess. Each castle he enters is always guarded by the same fake Bowser, and each time the princess is in another castle, he loses more and more of his temper. He takes it out by massacring the opposing enemies, mercilessly burning and vaporizing them. And he shows less and less regard for the toads which were turned into blocks. But eventually he makes it to the 8th castle. He feels this is the final one. It's well guarded and crawling with enemies. Making his way through the maze of castle, he finally approaches the real Bowser. A destined rivalry, 20 years in the making, finally meets face to face. But Mario's battle experience far outweighs Bowser's. He brutally burns him without showing a shred of mercy. But Mario is left with a heavy toll on his conscience. The massacring, the killing, eventually it would weigh on him. But for now, he pushes those feelings aside. Mario approaches the princess. She thanks him for his work, but strangely presents him with a new quest. She asks Mario to complete some plumbing jobs around the Mushroom Kingdom. He obliges, and sets off with Luigi to fix some damaged pipes. In spite of Mario's best efforts, Bowser is still alive and well. Measly fire isn't enough to take out the king of the Koopas. So while Mario was away, he simply barged in and took the princess again. Mario and Luigi hear the news and set off again in the events of Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Famicom Disk System, not the All-Stars version. We'll get to that later. This time, Bowser made things significantly harder. Way more enemies, difficult platforming, dead ends, and even fake power-ups. But the rage Mario has been harboring puts him at a considerable advantage. He makes his way through the 8 worlds, facing several more fake Bowsers. But this time, there are 5 new worlds for him to conquer. It's the most difficult job Mario's ever faced, but where there's a will, there's a way. He meets Bowser again and brings him to the same fate he faced before. The princess is safe, but yet again, she doesn't offer much in return. At this point, a bit of a trend begins to start. Mario saves the princess, goes off to do some other work, and then Bowser just comes back and captures her. We see this happen in Versus Super Mario Bros., where Bowser reuses the levels he made in Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, only making extremely minor changes along the way. Mario does it all again and saves the princess. The cycle continues with Super Mario Bros. Special for the Sharp X1 computer. This time, the worlds aren't as difficult for Mario, but they're strange and bizarre. He finds new power-ups this time. A set of wings let him fly, and he even finds the hammer he once used in the original Donkey Kong. But just like before, Mario makes his way to Bowser, who is incredibly ill and deformed in this game, and sends him to his doom. Then, in Super Mario Bros. 3, Bowser regains custody of his kids and puts them to work to stop Mario. This is the first game in the timeline that introduces the Koopa Kids, and we know this from a little bit of dialogue in the manual. Now you're probably thinking that Mario 3 is a stage play, it doesn't go here in the timeline, but you're wrong. The manual for the next game, Super Mario World, disproves that in this line, which states that the game takes place in the Mushroom Kingdom and that the kingdom needed saving to begin with. It's not just a stage play. The Koopa Kids are ultimately no foil for Mario, as they're really not any stronger than Bowser ever was. And upon making it to the final castle, Mario sends Bowser through the ground, saving the princess once again. After saving the Mushroom Kingdom 4 times over, Mario and Luigi need a break, so they plan a vacation to Dinosaur Land in Super Mario World. But during their relaxation, they find out that Bowser has once again taken the princess. However, on their way back to the Mushroom Kingdom, they encounter an old friend, Yoshi. Yoshi tells them that Bowser made his way onto their island, sealed them into eggs, and scattered them across Dinosaur Land. Mario, feeling his connection to the Yoshis, agrees to help them. The brothers waste no time and embark on their journey to Bowser. But this time, Mario no longer feels the rage he once did. He no longer feels hatred, but he doesn't feel any satisfaction either. In truth, he doesn't feel anything. He's jaded, and he's losing interest in Toadstool. the monotony of it all started to set in. Either way, Mario defeats all the Koopalings and Bowser, and saves Toadstool once again. Upon doing so, Toadstool begins to show some affection towards Mario. She gives him a kiss, which despite Mario's previous lack of enthusiasm, reignites his interest in Toadstool. With Bowser gone, they decide to go on a real vacation. After their vacation, the princess goes back to the Mushroom Kingdom, while the brothers finish up freeing the Yoshis across Dinosaur Land. The princess invites them over for a picnic, but as they return, they see that Bowser has taken over the Mushroom Kingdom, turning it into his personal resort in the events of Hotel Mario. The Koopa Kids have set up 7 hotels for the brothers to conquer. Of course, it's no difficult task for them. They take over each and every hotel, fixing power issues on the way, and eventually make their way to Bowser's hotel. And despite the trouble and repetitive nature of it all, Mario seems to be enjoying himself. Maybe he was driven by saving the princess, or maybe it was because it brought him back to his old blue-collar days. Either way, Mario found a sense of fulfillment doing this work. As always, he defeats Bowser and saves the princess once again. She awards him with another kiss, but also gives Luigi a kiss this time. This confuses Mario. Was his intrigue for the princess even warranted by real feelings? Later on, the princess invites Mario over to share a cake she'd baked for him in Super Mario 64. She even signed the letter with her real name, finally revealing it to Mario. Peach. She doesn't invite Luigi, but reluctantly, Mario travels through a warp pipe to her castle. He still doesn't know how to feel. Not about her, but about the whole thing. The Mushroom Kingdom, the dreams he followed for so long. None of it made sense, and he wants things to return to normal. As expected, Peach was not in the castle. A toad tells him that Bowser took the princess again and that he needs to find all the Power Stars to save her. Mario obliges. He finds all 120 Power Stars, races the big penguin, but right before facing Bowser, he notices something in the pillars of this world. Depictions of his previous fights. Mario sighs. It's as if he can't escape. He's haunted by the path he trods. Peach will continue to lead him on, and Bowser will never think to change his ways. He defeats Bowser, gets his kiss, but fake enthusiasm will not last long. While pondering his life choices on the roof of the castle, he runs into Yoshi again, who tells him, "It is not what we have, but what we enjoy that constitutes our abundance." Mario, trying his best to stay positive, stands up and thanks Yoshi. He leaves the castle to return to Luigi. While Mario was gone though, Luigi received a scam call saying that he'd won a huge mansion. Being as gullible as he is, he agrees to check it out in Luigi's mansion. Following the map he'd received, he approaches the mansion. He told Mario about the place too, so he expected him to be here already, but he wasn't. Instead, he's greeted by Professor Egad, who explains that ghosts have taken over the mansion and captured Mario on his return trip. For once, Luigi would have his chance to do the saving. Equipped with a vacuum cleaner capable of capturing ghosts, he makes his way through the mansion, determined to save his brother. He eventually finds Mario trapped in a painting, along with King Boo, who planned the whole setup. Luigi defeats King Boo, saves Mario, and gets to keep the mansion for himself. Months later, Peach takes Mario on a vacation in the events of Super Mario Sunshine. Initially, Mario didn't want to come with Peach, but when enticed with the local cuisine, he couldn't resist. After arriving on Isle Delfino, though, they find the whole island covered in a mysterious paint. Mario also finds Flood, a device created by Professor Egad, to clean up the island. Flood has data on Mario's past adventures in Super Mario Bros. 1, World, and 64, so he knows all about Mario's struggles. He speaks to Mario, and the two gain an immediate bond. However, the residents of the island arrest Mario on suspicion of vandalizing the whole place. The judge awards him with 3 months probation, an ankle monitor, and forces him to clean up the entire island. Mario is reaching his limit. He does as the Piantas tell him. He cleans up every part of the island, collecting more shine sprites as he does. Flood comes to understand the mental battle Mario's facing, and tries his best to console him. He echoes what Yoshi told him before, that chasing Peach, this proverbial destiny, will not necessarily give him fulfillment. That at some point, Mario will have to choose between the old life he was living and his new life in the Mushroom Kingdom. It's eventually revealed that the person behind the graffiti was Bowser Jr., a new descendant of the Koopa family. Eventually, Mario defeats Bowser with the help of Flood, but Flood doesn't make it. Mario finds him near death, and in his last breath, He asks Mario if he was of service to him. Flood passes away, completely selfless until the last moment. Mario sits, devastated. He cannot continue this cycle. Peach tempts him with another vacation, but he no longer cares. He knows Peach is a fraud, and he will make his choice to leave the kingdom soon. Time passes, and Mario is once again invited to the castle in Super Mario Galaxy. Every 100 years, a comet passes above the Mushroom Kingdom, and the Toads celebrate this event with the Star Festival. Peach entices Mario by telling him she has something special for him, but Mario does not care. He is going to leave the Mushroom Kingdom, and it would be the last time he sees the princess. But as is tradition, Peach is kidnapped by Bowser. Bowser speaks, talking of his plan to make an entirely new universe. Kamek swoops down and, using his spells, warps the castle away. Mario is left unconscious, with nobody to help him. He awakes sometime later to a new creature called Aluma, who leads him to Rosalina, a mysterious woman who claims to be the protector of the galaxy. Mario feels a similar intrigue towards her as he did with Peach. But now, Mario knows better than to blindly follow it. She tells him that her ship requires the Power Stars to operate, and she needs him to collect them and rescue the princess. Mario agrees, setting off on what will be his final adventure. He travels across different galaxies, collecting stars and freeing Lumas, and as he does, Bowser's new universe approaches creation. Mario, after finally making his way to Bowser, sends him to his doom one final time, and saves Peach once and for all. But as they leave, the sun in Bowser's new universe begins to collapse. It looks as if Bowser's time has come. Suddenly, a supermassive black hole is formed. The Comet Observatory, Peach's castle, everything is sucked in. The universe is beginning to collapse. But the Lumas collectively throw themselves into the black hole in order to neutralize it, and it explodes with a burst of light. Rosalina appears in front of Mario. She tells him that this is not the end of the universe, simply the beginning of a new one, but the cycle never repeats itself in the same way. Mario hears something in this. With another burst of light, Rosalina leaves, and the universe resets. Mario, Bowser, and Peach wake up in the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario looks on pensively at the new galaxy. He doesn't feel remorse, regret, anger, or satisfaction. He simply understands what he must do. Having been through too much, he stands up and heads home for Brooklyn, leaving the Mushroom Kingdom behind. Following Mario's escapades in the Mushroom Kingdom, he finds himself somewhat lost. The dropshipping business he created made him so much money that he could essentially do anything he wanted. He has infinite wealth, but the gaping hole in his life can't be filled by money. He ponders, asking what would bring him fulfillment. And out of all the things he'd done in his life, one job sticks out. Hotel maintenance. It was his blue-collar roots that gave his life meaning. He felt most fulfilled cleaning pipes, pouring cement, or knocking down buildings. And he hadn't felt that satisfaction since clearing out the hotels. If only there was a way to go back. If only he could travel back in time and live those moments again. Mario stops. He realizes he has all the money in the world. He has years of schooling and teaching experience. If he wanted to go back in time, he'd have no trouble doing it himself. This revelation leads him to build a time machine in Mario's Time Machine. Before going back for good though, he decides to do some sightseeing and travels through time to see major events in history. While this is happening though, Bowser catches wind of the machine and makes his way to Brooklyn to use it for himself. After seeing enough history, Mario believes his time has come. He says his final goodbyes and prepares to travel to his new destination. But right before leaving, he remembers someone he would feel remiss if he did not make up with. So before leaving, he returns to his old rival, Donkey Kong. He apologizes for treating him poorly, for ridiculing him, and for not giving him the respect he deserves. And in an act of good faith, Donkey Kong accepts. The two share a final moment of understanding in Donkey Kong Hockey, and when they finish, Mario spells his goodbyes for real. He enters the time machine and returns to the events of Hotel Mario. Upon seeing past Mario and Luigi read the letter that Peach left him, he reveals himself and tells the two to leave the Mushroom Kingdom. Peach is a fraud, and there's no place for them here. The two brothers listen and leave. Mario will spend the rest of his days maintaining hotels, keeping them clean and operational. He doesn't care about Peach anymore, and lets Bowser kidnap her. Finally, he has found fulfillment. But was the cost of his normal life really worth it? This is the last time we see this Mario, who I will now be referring to as Old Man Mario. From humble beginnings as a carpenter to a deeply flawed and scarred man, Old Man Mario's story is complete. Now, you're probably pretty mad right now because I didn't even cover half of the Mario games out there, and I don't remember anything about this Old Man Mario. You probably didn't know about him because you didn't pay enough attention to the story in each game, but he's real. As for the rest of the games, the timeline's gonna diverge a little bit now, so I figured this would be a good time to take a breather. Let's move away from Mario and switch to Donkey Kong. The Donkey Kong games are canon, I'm not gonna forget those. So let's continue the story, about 20 years after Old Man Mario left his timeline. We're gonna start moving a lot faster now because there isn't too much of an overarching story in the DK games. And before we start with the games, I need to explain who these people are. It's pretty common knowledge now, but for those who don't know, Cranky Kong is the same Donkey Kong that Old Man Mario fought in Brooklyn. This makes DK Jr. Cranky Kong's son, and the new Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong Jr.'s son. We know this from the manual for Donkey Kong Country, and hopefully this will clear up any confusion. The first game is Donkey Kong Country, which introduces King K. Rool and the rest of the Kremlin gang, who want to steal DK's banana horde. DK Country 2 introduces Dixie Kong, and 3 introduces Kiddy Kong. Then comes the Donkey Kong Land series, which happens because Cranky bets DK he can't do Donkey Kong Country on a Game Boy. DK even lets the Kremlin steal the banana horde just to prove a point. This is then followed by Donkey Kong Land 2 and 3. I know these two are essentially just ports, but they follow the same plot idea as the original. Then comes Diddy Kong Racing, followed by Donkey Kong 64, which introduces a bunch of new Kongs. Then comes Donkey Konga, Donkey Konga 2, and its Japan-only sequel, Donkey Konga 3. That's followed by Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which basically doesn't even have a story, followed by DK Jungle Fever and DK Banana Kingdom. Don't even ask me about these, they are Japan-only arcade games. Now we move back to the GBA for DK King of Swing and DK Jungle Climber. Then comes DK Barrel Blast, another racing game, and finally we get to Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And that's it. Those are all the DK games which take place in the original timeline. I know there are more, but we'll get to them. I thought about also including the Banjo and Conker games since they're both in Diddy Kong Racing, but it wouldn't even add anything. So now, let's go back to right after Old Man Mario went back in time. If you were paying attention, you'd remember I mentioned that Bowser was heading for the machine too. Well, Bowser got really sick of constantly losing to Mario, and he was looking for a new solution as well. That solution was to jump back in time to a point where Mario was still a baby, and take him out before he could foil any of his plans, thus allowing him to take over the world from the start. And now that he's found the time machine, his plan is set in motion. Time travel makes things weird and has some major implications on the timeline. First off, time traveling sends you to a completely new timeline, not the original one you're in. So Bowser can't just go back in time, change events, and then come back to his original timeline to see those changes in the future. If he travels at all, he goes to a new timeline and can only return to his original one as it was when he left. Second, time travel causes rifts in the timeline that can change major events. It's not guaranteed that when he goes back, things will be the same way they were in his universe. It's likely that wherever he ends up will be very different from what he knows. So Bowser makes the choice to return to the past, shortly before the ending of Yoshi's Island. But in this new timeline he went to, time traveling caused the events to slightly change. You see, right before the ending of Yoshi's Island, where the brothers are delivered to their home, Kamek actually returns to steal the brothers again. Kamek fails though, and only manages to knock Mario down. so the Yoshis team up again to deliver him to the stork in Yoshi's Touch and Go. They guide him as he falls, defending from enemies and obstacles, and travel across their island to reunite the brothers. When they find the stork, they return Mario, and it sets out again towards their home. Baby Mario is safe, but the timeline is already drastically differing from the original one. So the brothers are safely delivered to their home, but again, time travel has shifted major events. This time, we find that they're returned to the wrong home in Yoshi's new island. The stork quickly realizes this and leaves to find the correct house, but Kamek returns, again, and separates Mario from Luigi a third time. The Yoshis find Mario and go through more or less the exact same events of the original Yoshi's Island. Except this time, there's a man disguised as a pipe who provides help. Someone who looks too familiar. Yoshi defeats Baby Bowser, but right as that happened, the Bowser that time traveled appears in front of Yoshi, ready to take him down. Of course, Bowser fails, but at the very least, he's in a new timeline. The man in the pipe reveals himself to be the Mario of this timeline, who somehow traveled back in time to aid Yoshi. Yoshi returns the babies to their real home, again, and all is well. Next in the timeline is Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, which sees some future Mario characters teaming up with their past selves. This is the same Mario who went back to help Yoshi. I should also note that the time travel used here is completely different from the one in Mario's Time Machine. This time travel was created by Professor Egad of the future, not the time machine that Old Man Mario built. That's why Mario was able to affect his own universe and come back to it, because Egad's time travel doesn't follow the same logic as Old Man Mario's. So the past events of Mario and Luigi Partners in Time go here, and then comes Yoshi's Island DS. This game introduces the Star Children, which are the baby versions of the main characters in the Mario universe, plus a new character, Wario. You see, all the time travel changed the timeline so much that all of the main characters meet each other and interact really early on. That means that when the events of the Bowser Rivalry Era occur, Mario already knows who Bowser and Peach are, and he never faces the mental torment that Old Man Mario faced. In this game though, we see Bowser, following his defeat in Yoshi's new island, trying to steal all of the Star Children for his own carnal desires. And from the dialogue, Bowser and Baby Bowser already seem to know each other at the start, so it has to come after Partners in Time. At the end of the game, Yoshi defeats Bowser, and the actual Star Children are revealed. Baby Mario, Luigi, Peach, DK, Wario, Bowser, and a baby Yoshi. These are the Mario characters which interact in the rest of the Mario games, and the events of the original timeline no longer occur the same way, since this baby DK is completely different from the Donkey Kong that Old Man Mario fought. The Circus, Manual Labor, Draft and War, and Education eras might still occur, but there is no way of knowing which games take place. The original Bowser also stays in this universe, but it's unknown what happens to him. So the next 20-ish years of the timeline pass, before we actually get to see any new games. This era is kind of similar to the original Bowser Rivalry Era, but not really. At some point, Mario and Luigi make their way into the Mushroom Kingdom to save Peach from Bowser. The same games from the original era take place, but the remakes are the ones that play out, not the originals. So the era starts with Super Mario All-Stars, and each version of the 4 games play out here, followed by Super Mario Advance 2. Quick note, Super Mario Bros. 2 is no longer Mario being in a coma. This is just a dream Mario has after the lost levels. Then comes Yoshi's Safari, where Mario gets tired of stomping on his enemies, so he just shoots them instead. After this, another big change happens, where Mario starts to go on adventures outside the Mushroom Kingdom. In Super Mario Land, Mario travels to Sarasaland to rescue Princess Daisy. And while Mario is away, Wario comes and takes over Mario's castle, which we read from the manual for Super Mario Land 2. By the end of that game, Mario defeats Wario, which leads him to wanting his own mansion in Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3. This is followed by Virtual Boy Wario Land 2, 3, 4, and finally Wario World. There are more, but we'll get to them. And then catching up with the original order comes Super Mario 64 DS, where Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Yoshi play out those events. The Super Mario 3D All-Stars version of Mario Sunshine goes here, Luigi's Mansion is then replaced by its 3DS remake, and then comes the Mario RPGs. Super Mario RPG comes first, which sees Mario, Bowser, and Peach team up to save the Mushroom Kingdom. It also introduces Birdo, at least the Birdo that Yoshi is tied to in the rest of the games. I know Birdo's in Super Mario Bros. 2, but this is the Birdo we see in the next series, Mario and Luigi. The first game, Superstar Saga, includes both Birdo and Egad, and also introduces a recurring villain in the series, Fawful. Then comes Partners in Time, at least the present-day parts, followed by Bowser's Inside Story and Dream Team. The Paper Mario games also fit right here, which are retellings of the original Mario story in a scrapbook. Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, Super Paper Mario, and Sticker Star. The two series then collide in Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, and then the two split off again in Mario and Luigi Brothership, Paper Mario Color Splash, and the Origami King. Next is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and this leads us into the New Super Mario games. New Super Mario Bros. DS, Wii, 2, U, and Luigi U. Concurrently, Wario Master of Disguise and then Wario Land Shake It take place. And finally, we get to Super Mario Galaxy 2. Galaxy 1 and 2 can't take place in the same timeline, as both games feature the Star Festival, and that only happens every 100 years. So Galaxy 2 finishes and is continued in Super Mario 3D Land and World. We get Super Mario Run, Super Mario Odyssey, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, and the final game, Super Mario Wonder. After this, the characters go back to doing what they all do. Bowser rivals Mario, Mario wants Peach, and Wario wants money. A balance is formed in the Mushroom Kingdom, and the characters go on their own adventures. At this point, there's really no overarching story, and the order of the games doesn't matter too much. The characters do their thing and occasionally cross paths. Let's get cracking because this is going to get out of hand fast. Donkey Kong 94 sees DK and Mario beefing again, followed by Mario vs. Donkey Kong, March of the Minis, Minis March Again, Miniland Mayhem, Minis on the Move, Tipping Stars, and Amiibo Challenge. Then comes Mario is Missing, Luigi's Mansion Arcade, and Luigi's Mansion 3, followed by the rest of the Wario games. Mario and Wario, WarioWare Mega Micro Games, Mega Party Games, Twisted, Touched, Smooth Moves, Snapped, DIY, Gold, Get It Together, Move It, and Game & Wario. Luigi gets his doctorate in Dr. Luigi, while Mario spends some time with Yoshi in Yoshi and Yoshi's Cookie. Wario comes back for Wario's Woods and Wario Blast. Mario Picross, Mario Super Picross, and Picross 2 show Mario getting into archaeology. Then, oh god. Undake 30 Same Game, Wrecking Crew 98, which takes place in the Mushroom Kingdom, Itadaki Street DS and Fortune Street show Mario playing Monopoly, Yakuman DS, Sim City, Kicks, Tetris, Tetris Attack, Tetris DS, and Alleyway. Yoshi stars in Yoshi's Topsy-Turvy, Yoshi's Woolly World, Yoshi's Crafted World, and Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Peach gets an adventure in Super Princess Peach and Princess Peach Showtime. Mario starts making his own worlds in Super Mario Maker and its two sequels. The Mario and Rabbids games do not fucking make it in the timeline. And lastly, the gang gets together to play some minigames in the Mario Party series. Mario Party 1, 2, 3, 4, E-Reader, 5, 6, Advance, 7, 8, DS, 9, Island Tour, 10, Star Rush, The Top 100, Superstars, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Mario Party No John John Land, Koro Koro Party 2, Koro Koro Catcher 2, Kudu Kudu Carnival, or Challenge World, plus any other roulette, slot, pachinko, pinball, or capsule machine, plus whatever the hell this is.
Oh my god!
That's everything, right? Okay, we're almost done. At some point, probably the end of the Odyssey era, but it's up for interpretation, the residents of the Mushroom Kingdom decide to make a pro sports league. This then gives us the following. Tennis, Mario's Tennis, Mario Tennis N64, Mario Tennis Game Boy Color, Mario Tennis Power Tour, Mario Power Tennis, Mario Tennis Open, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Mario Tennis Fever. Golf, Famicom Golf Japan Course, Famicom Golf US Course, NES Open Tournament Golf, Mario Golf N64, Mario Golf Game Boy Color, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Mario Golf Advanced Tour, Mario Golf World Tour, Mario Golf Super Rush, Mario Strikers Charged, Mario Strikers Battle League, Famicom Grand Prix F1 Race, Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally, Excitebike Boon Boon Mario Battle, Super Mario Kart, Mario Kart 64, Super Circuit Double Dash, DS, Wii, 7, 8, 8DX, Tour, Live Home Circuit, World, Arcade, Arcade 2, Arcade DX, Arcade VR, Mario Hoops 3-on-3, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, then London 2012, Rio 2016 Arcade, Tokyo 2020, and Tokyo 2020 Arcade, Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games, and Sochi 2014. Baseball, Mario Superstar Baseball, Mario Super Sluggers, Mario Sports Mix, Mario Sports Superstars, and finally, DDR Mario Mix. The Mushroom Kingdom League gets so popular though that the human world wants a taste too. They snowboard in SSX On Tour, they play against Shaq in NBA Street V3, and Mario is asked to referee for the World Heavyweight Champion Mike Tyson in Punch-Out! And Donkey Kong goes on to fight Little Mac, who beat Mike Tyson, in Punch-Out! For the Wii. Finally, after everything else, the characters get invited to the Super Smash Bros. Games in 64, Melee, Brawl, Wii U, 3DS, and Ultimate. Surely that's everything, right? Nope, there's still more. So after all these events, Mario begins to forget who he even was. He bears no tie to his blue-collar roots, and the absurdity of each game is beginning to tear down his mind. He faces his first mental episode in Mario Pinball Land, where he turns himself into a pinball to save the princess. He travels to different lands, defeating enemies and opening gates, but he begins to lose sight of his own human form. Eventually, he saves the princess, but Luigi catches wind of the event and tells Mario to come to his clinic. Luigi diagnoses him with severe schizophrenia and middle to late dementia, and this marks the beginning of Mario's decline. He first forgets that he ever went through the events of any game in the timeline to begin with, so he replays these events, despite them already happening, or not happening yet. This is where all the rest of the remakes or re-releases take place. These include, but are not limited to, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Super Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2 for Switch, All Night Nippon Mario Bros., the Super Mario Advance series, the Game & Watch Gallery series, Super Mario 35, Donkey Kong Country for Game Boy Color, Donkey Kong Country for GBA, Diddy Kong Racing DS, Atari 2600 arcade ports, new Play Control games, IQ versions of games, the classic NES GBA games, any multi-console releases, any RPG remakes, Switch 2 re-releases, and any Virtual Console re-releases. Mario's condition gets worse though, and he begins to misremember how each game played out. In certain cases, he could only remember the first few minutes of the game before his memory cuts off. This is where any demos or unreleased games go in the timeline. And any other game I forgot to mention goes right here too. Mario has completely lost it, and his identity, shape, and form begin to collapse. He can't see straight, he doesn't know what's real and what's not. He starts to think that he's not human at all. Mario Campbell's Soup, Mario Old Spice, Mario Bed Sheets, gummies, cereals, walkie-talkies. His descent into madness has only just begun. Clothes, figures, Legos, Pez dispensers, theme parks, lunchboxes, commercials, water bottles, flash games, stage plays, ice cream, backpacks, phone cases, glass. The year is not known. The Earth sits, silent. The characters we once spent hours playing with are no more than echoes of the human race. Lifeless, meaningless figures that once occupied our minds. Mario's name hasn't been spoken in centuries. The world was left behind. Suddenly, the quiet sound of crunching snow fades in, and a lone traveler approaches. It's not known what her intentions are, what her desires are. She simply walks forward and grabs something from the snow. Reaching into her bag, she pulls out her Game Boy Color and inserts the red Game Boy camera into the slot. On it, the last echoes of the human race. Mario dancing. The woman watches intently, but doesn't understand. Mario has died. Oh yeah, there's also Donkey Kong Bonanza. This game isn't canon, so yeah. Bye.
Do the Mario! Swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario. Take one step, and then again, let's do the Mario.